You're a walking temptation, impossible to ignore and difficult to resist. Someone has noticed every detail about you, your confidence, your style, your undeniable presence that commands attention. But here's the thing. They're fighting an internal battle, trying desperately to maintain their respect for your boundaries despite the overwhelming attraction. They watch you from a distance, holding back the urge to make a move, knowing they need to wait for your signal. The tension is building with every encounter, but their respect for you is even stronger than their desire. You're the ultimate test of their self-control, and they're determined to prove they're worthy of your attention, when and if you decide to give it. You never asked for this power, but it follows you, hangs in the air like an intoxicating scent they can't escape. They try to ignore it, try to convince themselves that it's nothing, that you are nothing. But the pull is too strong. Their mind fights it, their body betrays them. No matter how hard they resist, they feel it, the undeniable force that is you. You walk into a space and everything shifts. Their pulse quickens, their senses heighten, their control weakens. They don't even need to see you to know you're there. It's in the air, it's in the way their thoughts stutter, the way their hands clench, the way their breath catches in their throat before they even realize why. They tell themselves it's normal, that it's nothing more than admiration, curiosity, attraction. But deep down, they know better, because this isn't something they can just shrug off. It's spiritual, elemental. The kind of force that unmakes a person, that breaks them open and forces them to confront what they were never ready to face. They've felt desire before, but nothing like this. This isn't just about wanting you. It's about needing you, a need that doesn't make sense, that wasn't planned, that has no logical explanation, and that terrifies them. The only way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it, Oscar Wilde declares, but yielding isn't an option, not for them, not for you. So they fight it, desperately. They go out of their way to avoid looking at you for too long. They keep their distance. They pretend they don't care, that you don't affect them. But you do. You always do. You can feel it, can see it in their eyes, that flicker of restraint, the way they grip the edges of their control, like a man standing at the edge of a cliff, terrified of what will happen if they fall. And yet some part of them wants to stop pretending, wants to close the space between you, wants to give in, but giving in would destroy everything. So they force themselves to act normal, to move through their life as if nothing has changed, but it has. This feeling isn't going anywhere. No matter how much they fight, no matter how much they deny it, you are still there, still in their head, still under their skin, still in their bones. And no matter how hard they try, they cannot escape you. You feel it, the weight of their presence just outside your reach, lingering at the edge of your awareness. They are near, always near, but never too close, never close enough to touch. You don't need to turn around to know they are watching. You don't need proof. You've felt this before. The silent, agonizing pull of someone who wants you but refuses to act on it. They find reasons to be where you are. They slip into your space like it's coincidence. A glance here, a passing moment there. Their movements are calculated, yet they pretend they're effortless. But you see through it. You always do. They stand within your orbit but refuse to collide. A soldier at the edge of forbidden territory, desperate to step forward, but knowing one wrong move could change everything. So they hover, resisting, restrained. Their hands twitch when they speak to you. Their eyes betray them, filled with something they will never say out loud. They do not push. They do not test. Instead, they hold back. Not because they don't want to cross the line, but because they want to more than anything. And that is the real danger. Every second they spend around you is a battle, a war waged in silence, hidden behind careful words and measured actions. They tell themselves they are in control, that they can stand this close without slipping, that they can want you without ruining themselves. But you feel the weight of their hesitation. The tension thickens when you speak, their body stiffens when you step near, their breath catches in ways they wish you wouldn't notice, but you do. They know you do, so they pull back just enough, just before it becomes obvious, just before you could call it what it really is, a temptation, a hunger they don't have the strength to indulge. So they stand at the edge, fists clenched, jaw tight, refusing to step over the line. Because the moment they do, there is no going back. You don't have to guess, you can feel it. The way their energy shifts when you're near, the weight of every glance, every pause, every word they measure before speaking. They think they're subtle. They think you don't notice the way their eyes linger, the way their body tenses, the way their breath catches for just a second too long. But you notice everything. You always have. They stare when they think you aren't looking, and when your gaze meets theirs, they look away, fast, too fast, like they got caught in something forbidden, like they touched a flame and barely pulled back before it burned them. Their voice stays calm, their tone even, every word controlled to the point of suffocation. But that's the problem, isn't it? Control. They are fighting a war within themselves, a battle between logic and desire. You are the battlefield. Every time you speak, every time you so much as breathe near them, you make it worse. They stand too close but never touch. They reach, but only halfway. A hand almost brushes yours, and for a moment time stops. A fraction of an inch, a hesitation, a moment that stretches far too long. Then they withdraw, like the touch alone could ruin them, like it would tip the balance and drag them into something they can't control. And you feel it. They want to give in, they want to let go, but they won't. Because the second they do, there's no going back. So they keep their hands to themselves. They keep their words careful. They keep their distance, even as they fight the pull toward you. But their body betrays them. The flicker in their eyes, the tension in their jaw, the way their breath falters when you're near. They are losing this war, and they know it. The question is, will they surrender? They thought you would be easy. Not in the way of fleeting attractions or shallow desires, but easy to reach, easy to charm, easy to sway, easy to claim. They were wrong, because you are not like the others. You don't play into longing glances or unspoken tension. You don't reward silent suffering with an invitation to come closer. You don't bend just because someone wants you badly enough. You have rules, and they are learning, the hard way, that access to you is not a given, it is earned. You feel their hesitation, the way they stop themselves from pushing further. Unlike others who would test your limits, who would chip away at your defenses in hopes of slipping through the cracks, they don't. Not because they don't want to, but because they can't. Your boundaries are a wall they were never prepared to face. Every time they take one step too close, they feel it, that silent, undeniable force pushing them back. Your presence alone tells them no, no games, no manipulation, no bending yourself just to make them comfortable. And they weren't ready for that, because they are used to control, used to getting what they want, used to people folding under the weight of their desire. You do not fold, you stand firm, unshaken, unmoved by the intensity of their longing, and that is what destroys them. Because the more you hold your ground, the more they want to break it, but not by force, not by deception. They don't want to trespass, they want to be invited. But you have made it clear, they are not entitled to you. Their hands may itch to reach for you, their thoughts may spiral into places they shouldn't go, their pulse may betray them every time you walk past. But none of that matters, because your boundaries do not shift for desire. And in that silence, in that impossible restraint, they are left with one choice: to learn the lesson the universe is forcing upon them. Self-control, patience, discipline. 3 things they never thought they would need. 3 things they never expected you to teach them. But here they are, burning for you, wanting you, and unable to have you. Stop right there. Yes, you. This message isn't for everyone, and if you don't feel it, that's fine. Move along. But if you've felt it deep in your bones, you'll know this is for you. The ones who don't fit in, the ones who see beyond the veil, the ones who've been told to stay quiet, to settle, to conform, but never could. They aren't interested in what's ordinary. They aren't here to follow someone else's rules. They're the light in the dark, the storm that shatters illusions, the unshakable, the unstoppable, the untouchable. While the world is busy running circles, they're walking their own path, alone if they must. Not for the applause, not for the approval, but because it's who they are. Here's to the ones who take what was meant to destroy them and transform it into something divine. The ones who carry wisdom that can't be taught, only earned. If this resonates with you, then maybe it's time to find your people. The Obsidian Inner Order is the only place of its kind, the #1 Ascension Nexus for chosen ones, where over 400 of us gather to share wisdom, connect, and transform. No masks, no games, just truth. The link is in the description. If you're ready, you'll know where to find us. If not, that's fine too. The choice is yours. They tell themselves they're happy, and maybe, before you, that was true. They had a life, a structure, a carefully built image of contentment, the routine, the stability, the things that were supposed to be enough, but then you appeared, and suddenly nothing feels certain anymore. You don't even have to say a word, just existing in their world, just standing in their line of sight, is enough to make everything shift. They tell themselves it's nothing, that the way their chest tightens when they see you is just a passing thought, that the lingering ache in their stomach when you walk away is just temporary. But it isn't, because the truth is a weight they can't ignore, and the truth is you. You, standing there without trying, without forcing, without even caring what you're doing to them. And them, they feel every second of it. They've spent years, maybe even decades, building this life, carefully stacking bricks of comfort, obligation, routine. But the second you enter the picture, that foundation starts to crack. Because happiness isn't supposed to feel like this. It isn't supposed to feel like something is missing. It isn't supposed to come with the nagging thought of, what if? They tell themselves they should be grateful, that they shouldn't want more. But you make them want more. More than security, more than what is familiar, more than what they built. And that realization is unbearable, because if what they have is real, why does it feel so fragile next to you? Like a house built on sand, their so-called stability can't hold against the weight of truth. And the truth is you. They wanted to move on. They told themselves it was possible, that if they distanced themselves, if they focused on something else, if they forced their mind into distraction, they could erase you. But the universe won't let that happen, because you are everywhere. Every song on the radio seems to sing your name. Every conversation loops back to something you would have said. Every random moment, every stray thought, every insignificant detail. Somehow it always leads back to you. And they hate it. They hate how much power you have without even trying. How their mind replays the sound of your voice, even when they don't want it to. They could be across the world, surrounded by people, drowning in noise, and still you linger. A flash of movement in a crowd, a familiar scent in the air, a phrase spoken by a stranger that sounds too much like something you'd say. And just like that, the illusion shatters. Because you were never really gone, were you? Even when you're miles away, even when they try to pretend you don't exist, even when they convince themselves they've buried this feeling deep enough, the universe digs it back up, throws it in their face, again and again and again, because this isn't coincidence, this isn't random, this is truth. And the truth, what they feel, is real. No matter how much they fight it, no matter how much they resist, no matter how much they tell themselves they imagined it, the universe won't let them forget you. You felt the tension for a while. The stolen glances, the lingering pauses, the breathless silence thick enough to drown in. They've spent so much time holding back, gripping their self-control, like it's the only thing keeping them from falling into you. But control can't last forever, and you can feel it. They are close to breaking. A moment will come when restraint isn't enough, when they slip, when a hand that should have withdrawn lingers just a second too long, when words they swore they would never speak slip through their lips before they can stop them. They know what's coming, and so do you. It's in the way their body tenses when you step near, the way their voice falters when they say your name, the way their fingers twitch, aching to reach for you but knowing they shouldn't. But temptation doesn't care about logic. It doesn't listen to reason. It doesn't stop just because they want it to. They tell themselves one step over the line changes everything. And yet, that line is starting to blur, because the longer they fight it, the stronger it gets. And when the moment comes, when the tension shatters and there is no more holding back, they will have to make a choice. Jean-Paul Sartre declares, "You always have a choice. It is what you do with it that matters." But what if the choice was made the moment they met you? What if this was never something they could resist? What if deep down they already know exactly how this ends? You notice it immediately. The shift, the sudden silence, the absence that wasn't there before. One moment they were close, too close. Their energy wrapped around you like an unspoken confession, their restraint barely holding together. And then, gone. No message, no explanation, just distance. They vanish into their world of logic and control, convincing themselves that this is the right thing to do, that pulling back is protecting you. But you know the truth. They aren't protecting you. They are protecting themselves from what they feel, from what you make them see, from the war inside them that they are losing. They tell themselves they're doing the right thing, that if they step back, if they put space between you, if they bury this feeling deep enough, it will disappear. But feelings don't just vanish, and neither do you, because even in their absence you are still there, in their thoughts, in their dreams, in the quiet moments when they think they've outrun this, only to feel you pulling them back in. They have tried to convince themselves that distance is the solution, that if they just stay away long enough, they can undo whatever this is. But you and they both know, running doesn't work. Not when the thing they're running from isn't you, it's them. It's the way their pulse quickens when they hear your name, the way their body reacts before their mind can stop it, the way they know deep down that no amount of distance will change what's already been set in motion. They can run. They can hide behind logic, behind excuses, behind the illusion of control. But the real question isn't how long they can stay away, it's how long they can survive without you. You are not just a temptation. You are a mirror, a reflection of everything they lack, everything they fear, everything they were never prepared to face. Your strength exposes them, your clarity unsettles them. They have spent years, maybe a lifetime, building their identity on half-truths, on carefully curated illusions of control. And yet in your presence, those illusions crack like glass. They look at you and see what they could be, if only they were brave enough, if only they were willing to let go of the masks, the restraints, the walls they've built around themselves. But are they ready for that? Because wanting you is easy. Becoming worthy of you, that is the real challenge. They are running out of time. The tension has stretched so thin it's ready to snap. The weight of everything unsaid, everything repressed, everything denied, it's suffocating them. You are not waiting. You never have. They know this. They've always known. You are not someone who lingers in uncertainty, who waits for people to figure out what they want. You move. You evolve. You keep walking forward. And if they don't step up, if they don't make a choice, they will be left behind. They can feel it, that final moment creeping closer, the breaking point. They can either resist, pretend this never mattered, pretend you never shook them to their core, pretend they can live without you, or they can step forward, face what they feel, risk everything, shatter every illusion they've clung to. There is no middle ground, no more waiting, no more lingering in the space between fear and desire. And as they stand on the edge of this decision, one thing becomes painfully clear. You will not stand still for them. They either come with you or they watch you walk away. You felt the shift before you even understood it, the sudden distance, the way the energy between you unraveled, thread by thread, like something unseen had stepped in and severed the connection. At first you questioned it. Was it you? Did you push too hard? Did you not do enough? But no, this was never about you. This was divine intervention. The universe saw what you could not, that this was not your burden to carry, that their indecision, their fears, their unfinished battles were not yours to fight, and so you were pulled away, not as punishment, not as rejection, but as protection. Because you were never meant to wait. You were never meant to stand in place, waiting for someone to gather the courage to meet you where you are. If they cannot rise to your frequency, if they cannot choose you with clarity, with certainty, with the full weight of their soul, then they do not get to walk this path with you. Rejection is often divine protection, and the greatest protection of all, being removed from anyone who wasn't ready for you. They know it now. They see it in the way your presence no longer bends to their longing, in the way the air between you has settled, the charge once thick with unspoken tension, now emptied, hollow, stripped of possibility. They wanted to believe they had time. That hesitation would not cost them. That desire alone would be enough to keep you within reach. But desire is nothing without action. And you do not wait. You do not stand still, hoping someone will wake up to the reality of your worth. You do not linger in spaces where certainty does not exist. You do not shrink yourself to accommodate those who refuse to rise. So now, they are left with only memories, fantasies of what could have been, regret that gnaws at them in quiet moments, in passing reflections, in the space where your presence used to be. They could have had you, but they did not become what was required to keep you. You are already gone, not in anger, not in resentment, but in truth. Because you were never meant to be someone's lesson, yet here they are, learning the hardest truth of all. Some things in life are only meant to be admired from a distance. You are already walking forward, untouched, unfazed, completely out of reach. Have you ever watched someone struggle with your absence? Have you felt the shift when they realized you were no longer within reach? Share your experience in the comments. Let them know what it means to be irreplaceable.